But I'd love to hear some of your tips about what business leaders should be paying attention to in 2025.
The first thing is to understand that complexity undermines execution. I think every business leader in the world, regardless of industry, needs to focus on the basics, focus on the fundamentals, and focus on simplifying success. Don't make things any more complex than they need to be. And that's especially true of businesses that are inherently complex. And, with technology and AI, there's some businesses that are already going to be complex, but you don't want to make the sales process complex. You don't want to make relationships complex, and you don't want to make leading complex.
You have a deep background in basketball. For those who don't know you, you've worked with pretty much a who's who of NBA stars, lots of different teams. What are some of the correlations between basketball success or athletic success and business?
Well, there's three that jump out immediately. One, I just touched on. The best of the best never get bored with the basics, and they really have a strong appreciation for the fundamentals. The second is they've learned how to blend confidence with humility. They've earned the right to be confident because they've put in the work during the unseen hours, but they blend that with humility, which is what allows them to stay open to coaching, stay open to feedback, and it reminds them that no matter how good they are, they can continue to get better. And then the third one is every high performer I've ever been around in basketball or business sets very lofty goals, but they don't focus on the goals, they focus on the process. They focus on the next actionable step that is right in front of them that will lead them closer to reaching that goal.
I don't worry about focusing on goals. In fact, as soon as I set a goal, I set it and forget it. I don't look at it again. You know what I pay attention to? The next actionable thing that I can do to move me closer to that goal. Yes, the process. I don't focus on the goal, I focus on what I can do right now to inch closer to that goal. And the best analogy I can think of, if you were ever asked to build a brick wall, don't focus on the wall. Focus on the bricks. See, if you can take each brick and lay it exactly where it needs to go, you lay each brick with care and precision, guess what? The wall, it'll take care of itself. You don't have to worry about the wall. You have to focus on the bricks. You have to focus on the process.
What is your single most favorite story of someone who's working their tail off in the unseen hours or the process that others might not realize?
Well, I had a chance to meet Kobe Bryant back in 2007 when Nike flew me out to Los Angeles to work their first ever Kobe Bryant Skills Academy. And I got a chance to watch him do a really early morning workout. And as a younger coach, I was expecting to see then the best player in the world doing drills with a lot of flash and a lot of sizzle. And instead, he just kept drilling down on the basics. You're a basketball guy, so you can appreciate the first 45 minutes, he didn't even take a shot. He was working on squaring up and pivoting and footwork, and he just kept working on the basics over and over. And later that day, when I had a conversation with him to clarify, because I was so curious, he said something that changed my life forever. I said, Kobe, you were the best player in the world. Why were you doing such basic drills this morning? And he said, the reason I'm the best player in the world is because I never get bored with the basics. And ever since he said that to me, that's been my foundational mantra. It's how I approach everything in my life. From speaking to business to parenting, I work towards mastery of the basics.
And as obvious as that might be to you all right now, that was a life-changing moment for me. See, it was in that moment that I finally realized and understood that just because something is basic, it doesn't mean that it's easy. Those are not synonyms, and yet people mistakenly use those words as if they're interchangeable. Just because something is basic, it doesn't mean that it's easy. If it was easy, everyone else would be doing it. And you all know that we live in a world that tells us it's okay to skip steps, tells us we should be looking for a shortcut or a hack, tells us we should always be chasing what's new and what's flashy and what's shiny. But I'm here to tell you, when you do those things, you are making a huge mistake. And that's because the basics work. They always have, and they always will. And the very first step to you improving performance in any area of your life, it doesn't matter if it's personal or professional, it doesn't matter if it's individual or organizational, the very first step is to admit that the basics work. But it's also having the humility to acknowledge that implementing the basics every single day is never, ever easy.